Okay. So today is the summer solstice for the Northern Hemisphere, and using the current calendar that we use. So June 21st. It also is Father's Day. So just to name that sometimes those days, Mother's Day, Father's Day, um, can affect us in different ways, right? We don't all have perfect, ideal relationships with members of our family. So just acknowledging that it could be a challenging day for some people. It might be a joyous day for others. Just being aware of that. Um, Talking about the summer solstice. So we're going to talk today about a few concepts, mainly the concept of joy and bliss. Um, which, according to the yogic philosophy, that is one of our birthrights, is to be blissful. And oftentimes there is this concept of reaching enlightenment. And I think people get that confused with like sitting on top of a mountain or in a cave by yourself and feeling peace at all times or something like that, whatever enlightenment might um, bring to your imagination. And in fact, it's actually more about coming back to this place of bliss and enjoyment. Um, and summer is an interesting time to reflect on that as adults. So I want to talk about how when we're young, right, summer break is like the epitome of excitement, right? Vacation has started, you are on a break from school, it is good times. You're happy. Even if all you're doing is riding your bike all day, every day, you're happy for the most part. Obviously, there's always exceptions to that. But generally speaking, as a child, summer is this time of joy. And when we're young, we're really good at being silly and playful. And then as we grow up, we become serious, right? We got to get serious to grow up. And it's this process of playing less and uh, taking things like everything is super important. And there's obviously elements to growing up that are important. But for many of us, we start to lose play and we lose joy and we lose silliness. And when we come across people who still have that quality, that's why we find them so charismatic and attractive, right? Someone who can make you laugh, someone that you sort of forget yourself with, and you can just have fun. Um, those friendships, those connections start to become even more special because not everybody retains access to their bliss body. And one of the practices within yoga and meditation is to come back into accessing that bliss body. And again, it's interesting because it gets very convoluted, this idea of yoga and meditation and breath work, and it all starts to become so serious. You know, you've got to come to the mat, you have to have the discipline, and you have to learn to sit with yourself and feel the emotions and process the pain, and it's all this sort of heaviness. And that is just looking at one portion of it, right? Because another portion of it is community, it's connection, it's laughing with people. It's silly moments, trying to get into postures and falling out of them. It's sharing your story, which so often when we share our story, we share the painful parts of our story, right? Bad things that maybe happened to us. Um, and we also want to remember to share the good things, right? The joyful things, the happy things. So there are these layers, and I've spoken about this before. Some of you might have heard of these before. They're known as the koshas. Helping my old dog here. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. And the koshas, kosha means sheath or shield, like a covering. or a layer, right? So you can think about these layers of the koshas. And sometimes you can picture it from the outer part of you moving in, or you can think of the more solid, like body part of you, and then sort of these like layers out. But going in or going out, it's sort of this onion effect. And the first layer that we have is Anamaya kosha. It's the physical body, right? Kind of the meat layer. And then we have pranamaya kosha, we have the energetic body. And we work with that through pranayam. So pranamaya kosha, pran. And then we have the energetic layer, the emotional layer, the mental layer, manamaya kosha. And then we have the wisdom layer. So getting more subtle, right? That difference between what happens in your mind and your thoughts versus what happens in your inner knowing, right? Like something that you feel inside of you and you just know to be true rather than you think it to be true. And then the most subtle layer, so again, either in your deepest core or your furthest outer, depending on how you relate, is the bliss body, the bliss kosha, Ananda Maya kosha. And so I think it's just important to remember, especially as we're coming into summer, which is this season of joy, right? The weather is nice, get outside, go to the pool, go to the beach, take a walk, have a picnic, like enjoy the longer hours of sunlight. Um, that we, as we age, as adults, we have to practice joy, right? We get very good at being serious. We get very good at holding the trauma. We get very good at being an adult, being a very serious grown up. And so we need to practice joy. And when we forget to practice joy, we see the results of that, right? And we're just these joyless people who are focused on work and money and the to-do list and what I have to get done. And we suffer as a result of that. And so coming back to this idea of radical responsibility, of being responsible for your own existence, you are responsible for your own joy, right? You are responsible for play. You are responsible for making room for the fun and the bliss. So that's what we're going to work with today. So I know that's a lot of information to get thrown at you. Take a moment, maybe see how that lands for you. Let's come into a comfortable position. So if you need to kind of move a little bit and maybe shake that off, roll the shoulders out, maybe shake the hands, sit up nice and tall, come into the shape of your practice. So whatever shape that might look like. You can roll the neck out a little bit, maybe open the jaw and the mouth. Maybe sigh a few times, get a drink of something if you need to. And then sitting up nice and tall, if you're able to, if you're in a different shape, just taking a moment to connect with your spine and envisioning your spine as straight as possible. So thinking about like a garden hose or a straw. We don't want any little kinks in it. We'd like it to be free for the energy to travel up and down. So coming into a shape that you're able to be in for the next 20 minutes or so comfortably, connecting in with the spine and that energetic layer, as well as the physical. So before we move into any intentional breathing or the chanting or anything like that, just take a moment and connect with your joy. How do you access bliss in your life these days? And you might be in a season of life where you're not sure, and that's okay. And it's very common for us to mourn things that used to make us happy that we no longer can do or participate in for all kinds of reasons. And again, it becomes our responsibility to continue to seek out things that bring us joy, to explore new avenues to access bliss. So maybe you've lost an access point to your bliss body. There are other ways. And that can mean trying something new. That can mean saying yes to an invitation to something that maybe wasn't something you ever saw yourself doing, right? There's these different ways to access bliss when we stay open to joy, when we stay open to having some fun. So just checking in with yourself, just seeing what your relationship to joy is at this stage in your life. And if it's a challenging one, that's okay. So as you contemplate and check in with yourself about your relationship to joy, your connection to bliss, notice where that might register in your physical body. So where do you maybe feel that connection? Where do you maybe feel that mourning, that grief to some old part of you that accessed joy in a way that might not exist anymore? Starting to scan the physical body for those sensations. Then let's take a moment and let's check in with the emotional body. Seeing what this topic does bring up for you. Right. It's such an interesting thing because we can talk about joy and play and silliness, and it can bring up deep grief. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it brings up happiness. Maybe there's fond memories there, or you might even start laughing, remembering something funny or a joke or some time that was very joyous for you, right? Again, we spend so much time working on the problems, and sometimes we forget how fun and silly and wonderful it's also been. And then let's check in with the mind. So, what thoughts, what memories, maybe what inspiration, something fun that you're looking forward to, something fun that you can create. So if it gets the mind going in a good way, or if it gets the mind going in a not so good way, just noticing what the topic starts stirring up. Let's start to draw the breath more deeply into the body here. So inhaling through the nose, drawing the breath into the system. Start to fill as much of the lungs as you're able to. And then as you exhale, the exhale can be out the nose or the mouth. Just starting to enhance the quality of each inhale and each exhale. Feeling as you draw the air in and you start to fill up the belly and you fill up the lungs and the chest and the throat, drawing the air in. Notice if there's any points of physical resistance. Doing your best on the inhale to expand into the entirety of the rib cage. So oftentimes we talk about just filling up the belly. Think now about filling up the sides of the rib cage and the back of the rib cage as well. So we're filling up in all directions. And then we're emptying out like someone is squeezing us on all sides. So drawing the air in, filling up like you're a beach ball, expanding in all directions, and then exhaling like someone is squeezing out. So just keep breathing like that as best you can. Fully in through the nose, fully out through the nose or the mouth, whichever feels better for you today. As you draw the air in through the nose, start to draw in joy. And exhale, let everything go. On the next big inhale, start to bring in and draw from around you elements of play, of lightness, of laughter, of silliness. And then exhale, let everything go, emptying out. So use the inhale to intentionally invite in more bliss to the physical body. It is your birthright to experience bliss. It's not something you earn. It's not something that you only can access once you've done enough work. It is an inherent layer of your existence. Before the world told you you had to be so serious, all creatures play. You can start to lighten the breath. So rather than each inhale being such a big ordeal, you can come into some subtle breathing here. So let the lungs flow, drawing in as much air as you need, releasing as much as feels comfortable, letting the force and the effort lighten a bit. We're going to do a few shoulder shrugs. So if you're lying down, it might be a little trickier, but you can still get the motion. So as we inhale, we're just going to shrug the shoulders up towards the ears. And then as we exhale, we're going to drop them down and give a rather forceful sigh. So inhale to shrug up. Exhale to let it go. So any of that stress, any of that seriousness, any of that heaviness that we start to carry, it's a chance to shrug it off. Just going to do a few more of those, just a couple more. So inhale, draw the shoulders up. Exhale, let it go. Let's do just one more here. Notice if there is a lot of tension in your shoulders. Letting it go. We'll come into a chant now. So working with a mantra. And this one is Anando Hum Anando. I'm going to put it in the chat so you can see it. Anando Hum Anando. Uh, okay. Anando Hum Anando. I'm having a spelling moment here. Okay. So Anando means bliss. Hum means I am. I am bliss. Anando Hum Anando. So I'm going to start chanting. I highly encourage you to join, especially if it feels uncomfortable. I encourage you even more so to join. If today you're only able to receive, then you can just receive the chants, but give it a shot, even if you're quiet. Because this is another thing. When we're kids, we sing, right? We sing. We don't care what we sound like. We sing, we hum, we dance. We're not shy. We're not embarrassed about it. And as we grow older, we don't do something if we think we're not good at it. But we don't have to be good at everything, right? You can just do things because it feels good, not because you're good at it. So try to remember that part of you that was a little kid that would have sang without anyone, without caring what anyone thought. Okay. That's what we're trying to access. That's what we're working towards. So Anando Hum Anando. So come back to your shape of practice here. We're going to do a full round of breath before we begin. So you can exhale, empty all the way out. Inhale, nice big breath, fill all the way up. Exhale to let that go. And then inhale to begin the chant. Anando Hum Anando. 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 Anando ham. 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 Anando. Sitting with the vibration for a few moments. Observing how the chanting made you feel. How it registered in your body. If your mind allowed you to get lost in the chant, or if the mind is trying to stay loud. We'll close the practice with 3 rounds of Brahmari breath, honeybee breath. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose as we hum in our throat. Start all together here with an exhale. Let's empty the lungs completely. Inhale to fill up. Mm. And I hope you all have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your Sunday, whatever it looks like. Go do something that brings you joy. Go do something that brings you bliss. Go be silly. Go play. Have some fun and enjoy the summer solstice. And remember that bliss is your birthright. You do not have to earn your joy. Have a wonderful day. Sending you all love. Thank you for being here.